Imagine you found your dream property on the Outer Banks. Maybe it's an oceanfront home in Nags Head, a home site in Corolla where you plan to build, or a sound front retreat you've always wanted. You close on the property, start planning future improvements, and then someone asks, have you checked whether you'll need a CAMA permit? For many buyers, that's the first time they've ever heard the term. If you've never owned coastal property in North Carolina, that's completely normal. I'm Christy Bryant with Keller Williams Outer Banks, and today's video I'll explain what a CAMA permit is, why it exists, and why understanding it before you buy can help you make more informed decisions. Why this matters? One of the things I enjoy most about helping buyers relocate to the Outer Banks is introducing them to aspects of coastal ownership they may never have encountered before. Many of my clients come from places where coastal regulations simply aren't part of the home buying process. Buying real estate here isn't necessarily more difficult, it's just different. Understanding those differences before you purchase often makes the entire experience much smoother. One of those differences is CAMA. So what is CAMA? CAMA stands for the North Carolina Coastal Area Management Act. The law was created to help guide responsible development throughout North Carolina's coastal counties while protecting important coastal resources that make places like the Outer Banks so unique. The North Carolina Division of Coastal Management administrators the state's coastal permitting program under this law. Here's the most common misunderstanding. One of the biggest misconceptions I hear is that simply owning property on the Outer Banks means you automatically need a CAMA permit. Fortunately, that's not true. Buying a home doesn't require a CAMA permit. Owning property doesn't require a CAMA permit. Living in your home doesn't require a CAMA permit. Instead, CAMA permitting becomes a consideration when certain types of development are proposed and specific conditions established under North Carolina law are met. Whether a permit may be required depends on several factors, including the location of the property, whether the work is within it or affects an area of environmental concern, often called an AEC, the scope of the proposed project, and whether an exemption applies. That's why isn't one thing that answer just fits every property. What is an area of environmental concern, you'll often hear the phrase area of environmental concern or AEC. These are areas identified by the state of North Carolina because of their environmental importance or their relationship to coastal processes. Whether a property is located within whether a proposed project affects an AEC is one of the factors used in determining whether CAMA permitting may apply. Again, this is one reason every property should be evaluated individually rather than assuming the same rules apply everywhere on the Outer Banks. What does this mean for buyers? Let's look at a few examples. Perhaps you're purchasing a vacant home site with plans to build your dream home. Maybe you found an oceanfront cottage and hope to make improvements over the next several years. Or perhaps you're considering updates to outdoor spaces after you've settled into your new home. None of those plans automatically mean you'll need a CAMA permit. What they do mean is that it's worth asking questions before you buy. Understanding what's possible for a particular property and what approvals may be needed for future improvements can help you make more informed decisions and avoid unexpected surprises later. Are there different types of CAMA permits? Yes. North Carolina uses several categories of CAMA permits, including minor permits, general permits, and major permits. The type of permit one is required depends on the proposed development and the characteristics of the projects. Many residential projects that require CAMA review are handled through the minor permit process, while larger or more complex projects may require a different level of review. The important thing to remember is that permitting is based on specific project, not simply because a property happens to be located on the Outer Banks. Who should you talk to? If you're considering purchasing property and already know you'd like to build or make future improvements, don't wait until after closing to ask questions. Talk with your realtor early in the buying process. If permitting questions arise, you may also need guidance from your local CAMA permit officer or the North Carolina Division of Coastal Management, depending on the property and the type of project you're considering. Having those conversations early often gives buyers a much clearer understanding of what to expect. The bigger picture, one of the reasons I enjoy educating buyers is because Outer Banks has its own unique set of considerations. CAMA is one piece of that puzzle. Flood insurance, wind insurance, beach nourishment, septic systems, vacation rental regulations, each of these topics can influence your ownership experience. The goal isn't to become an expert in coastal regulations. The goal is to understand enough to be able to ask the right questions before making one of the largest investments of your life. That's what informed buyers do. Buying property on the Outer Banks is different than buying property in many other parts of the country. Those differences shouldn't discourage you. They should simply encourage you to work with a local, knowledgeable professionals and ask good questions throughout the process. The more you understand before you buy, the more confident you'll be in the decisions you make afterward. Every week, I answer real questions that buyers ask about owning property on the Outer Banks, from Corolla to Ocracoke. If there's a topic you'd like me to cover in the future, let me know in the comments. If you found this video helpful, consider subscribing so that you don't miss future buyer education videos designed to help you make informed real estate decisions here on the North Carolina's beautiful coast. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.